From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Monday, July the 28th, 2025. 2 IDF soldiers were killed in fighting in Gaza Saturday night. They are 22-year-old Captain Amir Saad and 20-year-old Sergeant Inon Nuriel Vana. Both were inside an armored personnel carrier that was hit by an explosive device planted there by Hamas terrorists. And an IDF reservist who was severely injured in a roadside bomb attack on July the 19th died from those injuries yesterday. He is 32-year-old Sergeant Major in Reserve Betzalel Yehoshua Masbacher. The IDF yesterday announced new steps, it said, to improve the humanitarian response in Gaza, including the resumption of airdrops of aid and pauses in fighting to facilitate aid. Refuting, it said, the false claims of deliberate starvation in Gaza, claims, it said, are being promoted by Hamas. Today, in coordination with the United Arab Emirates and Jordan, through Israeli Defense Ministry's COGAT, the Coordination of Government Activities in the Territories, the IDF said 20 aid packages containing food were airdropped to Gaza residents. The IDF said it will continue to support humanitarian efforts alongside ongoing maneuvering and offensive operations against terrorist organizations in Gaza. COGAT also responded to a photo of a 5-year-old Palestinian child being widely shown in the media, used, it said, to falsely depict Israel as responsible for his condition, claiming Israel is starving children, when in fact, it said, this child suffers from a serious genetic illness unrelated to the war, noting that Israel last month coordinated the child's exit from Gaza with his family and is now receiving treatment in Italy. COGAT saying, don't let compassion be exploited for propaganda. Check the facts before parroting blame. While Jewish organizations here in the U.S. welcomed the new steps to address the situation in Gaza, the American Jewish Committee said it is urging all responsible parties involved in aid distribution to increase cooperation and coordination in order to ensure that humanitarian aid reaches Palestinian civilians in Gaza. Also reminding the international community and media, it wrote, that Hamas has exacerbated the challenges of humanitarian aid distribution, saying Hamas has continuously and cynically created the conditions for and weaponized Palestinian suffering in order to demonize Israel. Hamas is ultimately responsible for this war and its continuation, further evidenced this week by its unwillingness once again to reach a renewed ceasefire and hostage release agreement. Anti-Defamation League CEO Jonathan Greenblatt said the anguish in Gaza is absolutely overwhelming and truly heartbreaking. We hope that the measures announced this weekend will ensure that more help is on its way to get to the people of Gaza. But make no mistake, Hamas alone holds the power to end this nightmare. Hamas must free the hostages and prioritize saving the people they govern rather than clinging to power. And rallies for the hostages still being held by terror group Hamas in Gaza took place over the weekend, including the weekly gatherings in Central Park in New York City, joined yesterday by the parents of hostage Matan Angrest, who, together with other hostage families, were in Washington, D.C. last week, meeting with members of Congress and of the U.S. administration, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Anat and Chagai Angrest telling those gathered in New York yesterday, we ask for a deal to bring everyone back and leave no one behind. And in Tel Aviv, where hostages' families and captivity survivors led a march Saturday night from Hostages Square towards the U.S. Embassy, calling also for the help of the U.S. administration in returning their loved ones home. The 50 hostages who remain held captive by terror group Hamas in Gaza have now been held for 661 days. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Monday, July the 28th at 7 o'clock, it's The Jewish Story Explained. chronicling the first 3 kings of Israel through the Second Temple period in Jerusalem. At 8, Abigail Pogrebin speaks with Anthony Julius to talk about his new biography of Judaism's foundational figure, Abraham. At 8:30 tonight, I speak with Eli Beer, founder and president of United Hatzalah, to talk about the life-saving work of the volunteer EMS organization and its response on October the 7th. At 9, Ehud Diskin is on L'chaim. At 10, David Harris speaks with David Kaufman. At 10:30, an encore of the news, and coming up next, it's Good Week, Israel. And that's the JBS News Update for Monday, July the 28th, 2025. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.